A message from General Michael Flynn, westernjournal.com. If we don't act, 2% of the people are about to control the other 98%. I was once told if we're not careful, 2% of the passionate will control 98% of the indifferent, 100% of the time. The more I've thought about this phrase, the more I believe it. There is now a small group of passionate people working hard to destroy our American way of life. Treason and treachery are rampant, and our rule of law and those law enforcement professionals who uphold our laws are under the gun more than at any time in our nation's history. These passionate 2% appear to be winning, despite there being countless good people trying to come to grips with everything else on their plates. Our silent majority, the indifferent, can no longer be silent. If the United States wants to survive the onslaught of socialism, if we are to continue to enjoy self-government and the liberty of our hard-fought freedoms, we have to understand there are two opposing forces. One is the children of light, and the other is the children of darkness. As I recently wrote, the art and exercise of self-governance require active participation by every American. I wasn't kidding. And voting is only part of that active participation. Time and again, the silent majority have been overwhelmed by the audacity and resolve of small, well-organized, passionate groups. It's now time for us, the silent majority, the indifferent, to demonstrate both. The trials of our current times, like warfare, are immense and consequences severe, and these seem inconquerable. As a policewoman from Virginia told me, people don't feel safe in their homes, and our police force is so demoralized we cannot function as we should. In my 23 years in my department, I have never seen morale so low. Another woman from Mississippi told me that we need our leaders to drop a forceful hammer. People are losing patience. It simply must be stopped. Laws must be enforced. No one is above the law. Don't fret. Through smart, positive actions of resolute citizen patriots, we can prevail. Always keep in mind that our enemy, these dark forces, invariably have difficulties of which we are ignorant. For most Americans, these forces appear to be strong. I sense that they are desperate. I also sense that only a slight push on our part is all that is required to defeat these forces. How should that push come? Prayers help, and prayers matter, but action is also a remedy. Our law enforcement professionals, from the dispatcher to the detective, and from the cop to the commissioner, are a line of defense against the corrupt and to the criminal. It is how we remain, for now, in a state of relatively peaceful existence. We must support them with all our being. They are not the enemy. They bring light to the darkness of night through their bravery and determination to do their jobs without fanfare and with tremendous sacrifice. The silent majority, the indifferent, tend to go the way of those leading them. We are not map or mind readers. We are humans, fraught with all the hopes and fears that flesh is heir to. We must not become lost in this battle. We must resoundingly follow our God-given common sense. Seek the truth. Fight for it in everything that is displayed before you. Don't trust the fake news or false prophets. Trust your instincts and your common sense. Those with a conscience know the difference between right and wrong, and those with courage will always choose the harder right over the easier wrong. I believe the attacks being presented to us today are part of a well-orchestrated and well-funded effort that uses racism as its sword to aggravate our battlefield dispositions. This weapon is used to leverage and legitimize violence and crime, not to seek or serve the truth. The dark forces' weapons formed against us serve one purpose: to promote radical social change through power and control. Socialism and the creation of a socialist society are their ultimate goals. They are also intent on driving God out of our families, our schools, and our courts. They are even seeking the very removal of God from our churches, essentially hoping to remove God from our everyday lives. Remember, we will only remain united as one nation under God. And yes, there is a resistance movement by the forces of darkness. However, we must also resist these onslaughts and instead take an optimistic view of our situation. Like war, optimism can be pervasive and helps to subdue any rising sense of fear. We must, however, be deliberate about our optimism. Otherwise, we may get lost in discouragement and despair of any failings we encounter. We must be tenacious in the ultimate end we wish to gain. That end is to remain an unwavering constitutional republic based on a set of Judeo-Christian values and principles. We must not fear these, and instead embrace each. Our path requires course corrections. To move our experiment in democracy forward, we should fight and reject the tired and failed political paths and instead pursue a more correct path that shines a bright light on liberty, a path with greater and greater control of our livelihoods, instead of being controlled by fewer and fewer of the too long in power politicians. They have discarded us like old trash. Our will, our individual liberties and freedoms remain powerful forces and must be understood and applied smartly. We must not be overly stubborn. Following the Constitution as our guide and adapting to change as we have throughout history, we learn more about what freedoms humans desire. At times, however, we have to fall back on what got us here. We cannot afford to lose our God-given human rights and the strong inner desire for freedom to choose and to breathe the fresh air of liberty. We must stand up and speak out to challenge our so-called leaders of government. We put them in charge, we can remove them as well. It is through our rights and privileges as American citizens that we challenge the political class and leverage our election process so we, the people, can decide who will govern. We must not allow a small percentage of the powerful to overtake our position on America's battlefield. We, as free-thinking and acting individuals, must control how we will live and not allow a few passionate others to change our way of life. To the silent and currently indifferent majority, wake up. America is at risk of being lost in the dustbin of history to socialism. The very heart and soul of America is at stake. In war, as in life, most failure comes from inaction. We face a pivotal moment that can change the course of history of our nation. We, the people, must challenge every politician at every level. We also must stand and support our law enforcement professionals. They are the pointy end of the spear defending us against anarchy. Now is the time to act.